Fire outbreak ravages home in Welingara, leaving many homeless. Cabinet adopts allowance increment to medical doctors. And Gambia government seeks to rehabilitate more streets in Banjul. These and more coming on Gambia24. Stay tuned. Good evening, this is Gambia24 News Bulletin with me, Mariama Cham. Thanks for joining us, and now the news in detail. In its second cabinet meeting on Thursday, the government of the Gambia adopted a paper presented by the Minister of Health for the increment of allowances of senior health personnel, including doctors and PhD holders. The move was taken by the Health Ministry to persuade qualified health doctors to join the public health sector. Amindo tells us more.
The country's public health system has for many years struggled to deal with the increasing health demand needs of the Gambian people due to the lack of enough qualified personnel into the health sector. However, the Gambia government has approved a paper presented by the Minister of Health, Dr. Ahmadu Samate, for the increment of salaries and allowances for senior health workers that includes medical doctors and PhD holders as part of efforts to bring in efficiency and attracting incentive packages within the health sector. Ibrahim Silla, Minister of Information, Communication and Infrastructure, explains the Cabinet's resolution on the demand.
Cabinet was informed that over the past years, the Ministry of Health has been finding it difficult to attract highly qualified medical doctors from hospitals to work at the central mainstream ministry because of the sharp difference in salary and takeaway home between medical doctors at the Central Ministry of Health and those of their counterparts in the hospitals.
Silla further outlined the significance of the Cabinet approval of such requests from the Health Ministry.
The difference in incentive packages offered by the different arms of the same ministry is a source of disincentive to strike the right balance in terms of moving the relevant high-caliber staff around to serve where they are considered needed from time to time.
Last year, the Gambia Association of Resident Doctors called doctors throughout the country to launch an indefinite strike due to poor working conditions and lack of medical supplies. Citizens have been complaining for lack of proper medical attention in hospitals. Thus, there is a need for the government to invest more in the healthcare system. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Amindao.
Cabinet there adopts a paper presented by the Health Ministry for the increment of allowances for senior health personnel. Now, a compound in Welingara on Friday morning lost belongings in a fire outbreak that left 4 houses burned to ashes. This is the second time the compound is hit by a fire blaze, according to some of the affected families, and the cause of the fire is yet to be established. Fatmata Kasim has the rest of that.
Fire outbreaks have become rampant in the Gambia, and the government has done little to avert these disasters. Recently, mysterious fire struck a fuel station in Westfield and the Bakote side. Birkama Market was also burned in an inferno a few months ago, and the victims are yet to receive compensation from the government. Suleiman Bah, a victim of this fire outbreak, said the fire is a strange one, as none could say how it started.
No one can tell you how the fire started. I just walked up to the fire. I don't even know if it was caused by current or whatever. It is like someone took fuel and poured it. We were able to save nothing. Everything caught fire. Even the clothes I am wearing was borrowed to me by neighbors.
Adama Mahanera explained how the scene happened and what they did before the arrival of the fire service.
This fire came from my neighbor's house. I was even sleeping and he came to my house and told me there is a fire in his house. Then I took my phone and called the police and the fire service, and I called the neighbors also to come and help us. But before the fire service came, the whole house were already on fire. There was no gas in the house. In fact, we don't know the cause of this fire. Anything in this life is in the hands of Allah. We will thank the neighbors for their support.
One of the victims, who is on a visit for treatment, said the fire caused her to lose all her clothes and the money for her treatment. Among the things that were burned to ashes were mattresses, TV sets, clothes, stand fan, and some cash. For iAfrica News, I am Fatoumata Kasim.
Families there in Wellingara lost everything in a fire outbreak and left many homeless. Now, the Minister of Works and Infrastructure have presented a paperwork on the revived scope of Banjul Rehabilitation Project of roads, drains and sewage systems. The paper was discussed and adopted at Cabinet's second meeting held on Thursday in Banjul, and this will cover a total of 17 streets. More of that in this report. The Banjul Rehabilitation Project was launched in February 2019 by President Adama Barrow as part of his government's development agenda, which is outlined in the National Development Plan 2018-2021. Banjul has been facing challenges related to flooding and leakage of sanitary waste, coupled with the loss of the structural integrity of its roads due to the high underground water course. As Banjul is prone to water and sewage problems, the Information Minister Ibrahim Asila says the proposed paper will cover 17 streets in some parts of the city.
The proposed scope of work will cover a total of 17 streets in the older parts of the city and 4 additional streets in the Tobacco Road area. These works will be attended by an equal refurbishment of drainage and sidewalks. It is proposed that the major outlet drains on Cotton Street, Kent Street, Combo Street, Grant Street and Albion to Boxbar are to be covered in order to curtail the prevalence of dumping of solid waste in them, which has been choking the drain system.
Meanwhile, Minister Silla adds that the work will complement the ongoing road project in Banjul. He says the sewage system needs to be reconstructed in order to have a quality and standard city infrastructure.
Built in the 1950s, the walls of these drains are either weak or have collapsed in sections, and hence the need to reconstruct them in order to support the covers. The required additional works are complementary to the ongoing roads, drainage and sewage works in Banjul and are in line with the need to have uniform quality and standards for the city's infrastructure. The Banjul Rehabilitation Project involves re-establishment and construction of road network and sewage systems, was launched at the tune of $35.5 million, which is equivalent to $1.8 billion. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Mariama Cham. While government there added extra 17 streets in Banjul to the rehabilitation project. Now, the United Nations Development Programme UNDP under the Election Project 2020-2022 on Friday handed over furniture and ICT materials to the Independent Electoral Commission. The objective of the project is centered on the premise that it is technically capable, transparent and inclusive that are essential for the conduct of accountable elections. And the ICC has more of that in this report.
This support is expected to boost the preparations of the Independent Electoral Commission ahead of the highly anticipated 2021 December presidential election. The materials presented to the Electoral Commission include office furniture and ICT equipment, which include 14 laptops, 14 printers, 14 internet routers, and 21 chairs to the Independent Electoral Commission. The UNDP is also refurbishing 4 IEC regional offices across the country. Speaking at the handing over ceremony, the IEC chairman Ali Momorin-Njai expressed his delight for receiving support from UNDP. Mr. Njai thanked the government for its drive to open the political space and supporting the commission to deliver its mandate, saying IEC is committed to deliver free and fair elections to Gambians at all times.
As the mission of the Commission is to provide the Gambian people with an independent and efficient electoral process that is based on fairness, transparency, and trust, and supported by competent staff for the democratic conduct of all public elections and referenda.
The UNDP's country representative, Aissa Tadei, said their quest to support elections in Africa is grounded on a desire to build democratic institutions and improve electoral processes to meet the citizens' aspirations for democratic governance and advancing human development. She urged citizens, especially women, to participate in the voter registration process.
The first milestone will be the registration, and thank you, Mr. Honorable Chairman, on highlighting the fact that it will be a digital registration in a very processed manner, open manner, but also very inclusive. Everybody will access its ID card, its voter registration card, based on the criteria defined, and we appeal to the population to really, especially women, to go and register, because women's representation is still low in the Gambia compared to many countries, and you make your voice heard only when you participate in these processes, in an important process like this.
In Africa, the UNDP electoral assistance to member countries also include civil society organizations and democratic institutions. As a result, the electoral cycle approach has been developed and adopted to ensure support during and after election phases of the electoral process. For iAfrica News, I am Cisse.
UNDP there donates furniture and ICT materials to the Independent Electoral Commission under an election project 2020-2022. Now, the Gambia Senior Secondary School Sports Association is conducting a 3-day capacity building training for 65 physical education teachers across the country. The training is taking place at the Independent Stadium in Bakau, is geared towards equipping PE teachers on sporting activities and promoting sporting discipline in schools. Let's take a listen. The maiden training, expected to end on Sunday, is meant to equip these young teachers with adequate knowledge on sporting activities, as schools are seen to be the grassroots for upgrading sporting personnel into national and international champions. Despite being seen as lesser inactive in the school curriculum, school sports activities are the foundation in every nation for building young talents. Ismail Cisse, president of the Gambia Senior Secondary School Sports Association, stresses that PE teachers should be given equivalent opportunity as those in academia. Cisse urges the authorities involved to support the subject and the teachers in order to have degree programs to strengthen their capacity.
So they will be listening, they will be watching, that they need to take sports very seriously. PE teachers need to be given scholarship to pursue a bachelor's degree in physical and health education. We have a lot of PE teachers out there. A lot of PE teachers out there whose only qualification in terms of sports is from the Gambia College. And we want to see a country where we have as many degree holders as possible in physical and health education like other subject areas. And I'm urging Ministry of Youth and Sports, together with Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education and University of the Gambia, to fast-track the degree program that they have initiated.
Officials say sporting activities is no longer a passion for athletes, but a form of trade. Musa Njai, chairman-elect of competition, stresses that there cannot be good athletes if there are no good teachers to guide them. Chairman Njai adds that trainers must perform activities they are teaching to students.
The athlete is as good as the teacher. If we don't have good physical educators, forget about getting good athletes. It just follows. Physical educators must be trained theoretically and practically. In fact, you are supposed to be trainers and instructors. You have to be able to perform whatever you are telling the athlete to do. So if you are not good, it translates to a mediocre athlete. So it is very, very important that we don't only concentrate on the theoretical aspect of physical education, but the practical aspect.
The Gambia Senior Secondary School Sports Association conducts inter-schools competition annually to gauge talents in young athletes and promote sporting activities in schools. However, this year's inter-schools activities has been postponed temporarily by the Gambia government, citing the possible spread of the virus. Officials said they are still engaging the government to rescind its decision on the temporal ban. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Mariama Cham. 65 PE teachers there undergoing a 3-day training geared towards equipping them in sporting activities in their various schools. That's all we have for you in today's edition of Gambia24 News Bulletin. Thanks for watching and have a good night.
The pride we take in our brand, the work we put into constantly change the landscape and elevate real estate in the Gambia